Welcome back to another exciting episode of Dissecting the Frogs as part of the Frogs Today family here at Roxo Media House. Really fired up about our guest today and just want to talk to you a little bit about what we're going to do here at Dissecting the Frogs. We're going to jump into all kinds of X's and O's and schematics. At times we'll have prospective student athletes in. And on days like this, we have coaches and recruiting coordinators in. And I couldn't be more fired up to have a conversation with Eron Hodges here today, who's a defensive analyst, works with the cornerbacks at TCU, and also is the recruiting coordinator. Eron, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Dave. Really appreciate it, brother.
Yeah, it's great. So we were just talking here at the beginning. I know you get some rare downtime. I know,
yes.
I use that word lightly in this profession because I'm sure you got your phone scrolling. But how's that been? Have a little time off?
Man, it's been amazing. Had the opportunity to go and hang out for 4th of July in Boca Raton with my fiance family. Had some great time there. Been on the couch the last couple of days. Been catching up on Power, the Book of Ghost. And I'm a huge SEAL Team fan, so I love watching and catching up on shows with SEAL Team. So it's been fun, and I watched Terminal List too.
Good for you.
Binged it all in one night as soon as it popped on Prime. So
that's awesome.
Like I've been movied crazy, the last couple of days. So it's been fun.
And I'm sure while you're doing that, you're scrolling through, still keeping track of the wild world of recruiting.
Yeah, it's wild right now, but it's fun. It got its challenges, but we're more than capable to get it done. I feel like here. We got an all-star as a head coach. We got a solid staff as well. And then you couple in Ali, Callie, BC. Those are some of the people that make the whole entire, facility move. So
sure.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah, I want to get into, I'm somebody, especially when it comes to coaches, that really enjoys the journey just because it's such a volatile profession. Where things are coming and going and happening so fast. And you in particular, you packed a lot in to really, 12 years since the entered the football world? Is that right?
Yep.
Take me back just kind of through your journey, and then I'm going to interrupt you a bunch because I'm really fascinated with it. But right out of high school, tell us where you headed right from high school.
So right out of high school, graduated from Joliet West out in Joliet, Illinois. I lived in Joliet for about 4 years prior to that, originally from the south side of Chicago, so I'm always repping my Sox. You're either going to see Bulls, Sox, or Blackhawks. Anything Cubs, we can't rock with.
I understand. I'll talk to you about that a little bit. I get it.
So right out of high school, my grades weren't very good. Funny story, I was averaging like a 1.75 in high school because the only thing I cared about was girls, football, track. That's it.
Sure.
So for me, that's what it was all about. It wasn't about academic success. It wasn't about pushing myself to be the best version of myself. Mm-hmm. It was about kicking it, having a good time, and just enjoying high school. So when it came around for recruiting and stuff to actually happen and pop off or whatever, coaches offered scholarships and things of that nature. But then when the grades came out, they said, "Hey, you got to go to a JUCO." At the time, my mom and I weren't. We weren't super close. My older brother, he's a mama's boy. He's a year older than me. So when I came along, I had no choice but to be a daddy's boy. So me and my pops, we were extremely close. My mom and I at the time, we weren't. So we used to always argue and get into it. And I used to always tell him when I turned 18, I'm gone. I'm out the house. I'm gone. And so I took the proposal back that coaches were, making to me, and I said, "Hey, Mom's like, if I, stay here and go to Joliet Junior College, then maybe, the scholarship be there or whatever." She said, "Nope. You said when you're 18, you're gone. You turn 18 in a couple months, and that's gonna be gone." So we had that conversation. Literally a couple days later, I just picked up at 17, moved out the house, partied the entire summer with my best friend at the time, Ryan Dodge, and we both enlisted in the United States Navy. So while everybody else was, moving off to college, I was going ahead and went up to Great Lakes, Illinois to start basic training. And that was really like my whole start in manhood and trying to figure out who I was. And I had great parents at the time too. I mean, not at the time, I still have great parents. My mom, she passed away in 2012, breast cancer. So I'm a huge advocate for women and breast cancer.
Yeah. Sorry to hear that.
That's all. It's part of life, and I think that's it kind of put it in perspective. I have younger siblings, and they could have all chose different paths. I was fortunate enough where my mother saw me graduate high school. She saw me graduate the Navy, and she saw me graduate Illinois State. You know, my kid brothers, they didn't even get high school graduation. You know, so they saw the birth. She saw the birth of the first grandchild, you know, of my daughter. Right. So, like, they will never have those opportunities. So instead of me approaching it in a negative and, you know, stressed way, I looked at my kid brothers and I was like, I got everything I could get out of that, you know. So
yeah, it's a blessing that was able to, you know, she able to see that for you, and I imagine that time in the Navy, as I think about as a football coach, what the structure looks like of a football staff and a football program, the discipline it takes, the things that coaches preach all the time. Tell me how formative that experience was to what you do today currently.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I grew up in a family. I had great parents. Father's a preacher. Mom's stay-at-home mom. Moved us out the hood to the suburbs, all that good stuff. So I knew how a well-lived life was supposed to look. But being a hardhead, chase girls, sports, and that was it for me. Like, that led me down a whole different path, you know. So the Navy gave me an opportunity to mature and grow up. You know, being around high stress environments. I was an ABF, so Aviation Bosun May Fuse Division. So I worked on the aircraft carrier, the flight deck of an aircraft carrier. Okay. And so, like, and it was in the middle of Operation Iraqi Freedom, Operation Enduring Freedom. So those were two conflicts where we're doing major flight ops. You got a bomb farm right behind you with all kind of bombs, and you're just handling your business on the flight deck, you know, elevators going up and down. Like, the Top Gun is like one of my favorite movies.
So the latest Top Gun,
yes.
I understand. Look, I'll tell you this. I went and saw Top Gun, and I thought that was one of the corniest, cheesiest 80 movies I've ever seen, and I loved it, right? I absolutely loved it.
Perfect. But 86. It was made in 86.
That's right, yeah. So how far from reality is that, right? Because, I mean, you lived it.
You know, so, and it's funny. So I can't speak to the fighter pilot aspect. But one of my mentors, his name is Lieutenant Commander Victor Glover. He's still in, but now he's an astronaut for NASA. So they just got back from Crew Dragon in the SpaceX. I think it was in like February or something like that. But like, he can, one day I'll probably introduce you all, and like, he could speak to that whole aspect. But as far as the flight ops and flight deck and the Alert 5 jet that's right there, all that is real.
Oh, that fires me
it's
up.
all like how they move
but
the airplanes and shoot them off the deck, and from the
wild.
catapult to like at the end they're crashing the F-14 on the new movie. Right. So they crashed the F-14 on the deck, like rigging the barricade. Sorry if you haven't seen it by now, right?
Spoiler alert.
But how we rigged the barricade, like, that's exactly how we did it. Like the thing that caught the jet at the end, like, we go out there, we do those drills all the time, man. Fog walks. It wasn't realistic for an officer to hop on the elevator of a F-18 and ride it up. You can't do it. It's only jets allowed on that thing.
Okay.
So some of it is like, some of it was for show, but for the most part, extremely well done.
Sure.
Huge Tom Cruise.
All right, so if you're living that, I mean, what to call on third and long? I mean, that seems easy to me.
You know what? It makes everything it puts everything in perspective for you. You know, because like those were, it's a second dangerous job in the world. Window washers, number one. Flight ops on the flight deck of an aircraft carrier is number two. So it put everything in perspective, like how serious it really is this. And that's why I kind of approach college football the way I approach it. Like, okay, why do you talk trash on Twitter? Because it's not real. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
Like, we're talking about talking trash on Twitter, not a bomb farm. You're not talking about, you know, you're dealing with fuel explosions. You're not talking about deep sixing over the side of. You're not talking about any of those things. You're talking about Twitter. You know what I mean?
Twitter muscles are a little different.
Yeah,
right?
You know what I mean? So it's slightly different. Like, hey, how do you feel comfortable why do you feel comfortable like telling the kid that you're not going to recruit them and everybody's recruiting them? Why? Because that's not real. You know, the real things is guys out there risking their lives, for the country that we just celebrated the 4th of July. Everybody's celebrating freedoms and popping fireworks, drinking beer and all that good stuff. But like, how many people really sat back and thought about, dang, it was a lot of life lost in the pursuit of what we're able to celebrate and cheer and all that jazz.
Well said.
So
yeah, for sure. And you bring that perspective to life, and I'm sure you do that for the young men that you impact on a daily basis. So going back, so we go from 4 years in the Navy. That's correct.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go to Illinois State and graduate.
So I went first to College of DuPage. So I had to go to JUCO because the GPA was so bad.
Right.
So but for 4 years in the Navy, I kept my mind right. I always told myself I was going to be there for 4 years. I was going to get out. I was going to go to college. I was going to run track, play football, all that. Mm-hmm. So throughout that whole entire time, it's 4 years. So it's almost, you're cut off from the world a little bit when you deploy and all that jazz. But, like, I'm in the sandbox and I'm playing, football with officers enlisted. Lieutenant Commander Glover, like, he's one of the ones who grabbed me. When it was time for me to get out the military, they made it real cushy for me to stay. And they said, hey, we're going to offer you X, Y, Z. And then I talked to Lieutenant Commander Glover. I said, what do you think? He said, look, man, you got big dreams, big goals, big aspirations. And at the time, I didn't know he was going to be an astronaut. I just, it was like, all right, I trust Vic. So I'm going to listen. And surrounding yourself by phenomenal people, that really changed my life. While I was in, and this is going to come up a little bit later, but another mentor of mine, he was a petty officer second class at the time. His name is Kenneth Lake. And Kenneth Lake rode me to death every single day. It wasn't a day that we didn't argue, and he's my superior. And it's just, hey, you got to get this, Hodges. You got to do that, Hodges. You got to do this. And I'm like, dog, like, chill, like, my mans.
Well, I tell kids, though, right, and you coach them, if I stop hollering at you and I stop riding your tail, that probably means I don't care, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, if you look back at those ones that care about you, they're the ones that drive you the hardest, right? And I'm sure that was the same experience.
It was absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
And you're right. I was getting coached without even being in college football from 18 to 21.
Right.
Because these were men who've been there, done that, and were trying to bring me along because they saw something in me. What they see at the time, I didn't know.
Sure.
But the only thing I did was listen. I cursed him out, and then I tell him what I wasn't going to do. And he said, okay, well, you don't have to do it during normal working hours. I just bring you up here for EMI, which is extra military instruction. And so, like, you can just do it for EMI. So you could do your qualifications now or you do them later. So I was like, all right, cool. And those qualifications, it set me apart because I then grew through the ranks without putting on rank and responsibility. And so I had people that were higher ranking working for me. I was in flight deck control, working with bosun and the handler and all those guys. These are officers, and I'm enlisted.
Wow.
And I'm giving orders to third classmen at the time. I was a E3, so I was giving orders to E4s at the time. And it was people who were higher ranking than me working for me. And it was all because of Petty Officer Lake. Petty Officer Lake, Ball, Chili Willie, like those are all guys that kind of like, helped me out. I was very aggressive. And Chili Willie used to always tell me, hey, just kill him with kindness. Be kind.
Sure.
So, and then last, before we move on from the Navy helped me identify what my core values were. Because growing up, when you're 18, you might have good parents, but you never had the conversation of, okay, what are non-negotiables in my life that I'm not willing to break? And so the Navy helped me formulate my core values, and that's the same core values that I live and that I preach to kids nowadays, like in recruiting. It's really core values.
Sure, yeah. I mean, that you got to have those things that are non-negotiable, right? Everything else can adapt and evolve or whatever, but you got to stay true to those core values.
100%.
And that rings true of any good football program, right? So you go from the Navy into JUCO, is that correct?
Yep.
Okay, so for our viewers, let them understand, because you said you had a sort of a cush opportunity in the military to, I think people look at, hey, you go to a junior college athlete, and I'm not knocking it. There's a place for it. It's unbelievable.
Yes.
It's transformed many kids, right?
Yes.
But I think people look at it and say, oh, wow, you're a college athlete. What an amazing experience. And it is down the line. But talk about really what playing junior college athletics, what that really is, because it's a grind. Am I right?
It's 100% grind.
Yeah, sure. It's not cush, right? We wouldn't use that word.
It's not cush. It's not easy. And I was a two-sporter at COD. So, like, it was extremely hard, especially back then. In 2009, we didn't have, like, all the sports science and all that stuff that we have now. So, I was burning the candle on all ends. Like I said, I had my daughter when I was 21. And so I'm playing college football, running college track at a junior college. And I'm also working 2 jobs. Like, I'm working during the day when I get off a couple hours at Kraft Foods as a stock the shelves at the Dominex or Jewel Oscar or whatever.
Far from cush.
Far from cush. I'm also moonlighting at the freaking McDonald's.
Okay.
So I'm working third shift at McDonald's. So I'm not sleeping much.
Right.
I'm working 2 jobs to make sure that I'm still handling my responsibilities as a father. And on top of that, I got academics and everything.
Yeah, that's a lot.
So it was a lot of juggling. And I remember one day I was like a little bit ashamed. It was one night a drug dealer who I kind of grew up with, went to junior high with, went to high school with. He pulls up and he sees me at McDonald's. It's late. And he's like, "Hey man, what you doing? What you doing out here?
Right.
Like, weren't you in the Navy?" "Yeah, man." "Like, so why you serving me food?" "Man, I gotta work, man." "Well, let me know if you need help." And I knew what that meant.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure like the recruits and everybody like that who ever been a part or around things like that, everybody knows what that means. And I could have easily chose like a easier path.
Yeah.
But for me, it was never about that. And thank God that I had the wherewithal to make the right decisions. But
yeah, because pride can be a dangerous thing in those situations.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah, for you to put that aside just kind of shows what kind of man you really are. And I look at that experience, so I understand junior college, man, and it's it's you don't get the life of luxury.
No.
In fact, just the opposite.
No.
But now you're talking to recruits, bring them into, like, for right now, you're at TCU, and we'll kind of close the gap into all those things getting here. But you're at TCU, they've got all these amazing facilities, beautiful place, beautiful city. I mean, every one of their needs are taken care of and met. And so I would imagine, and I don't want to speak for you, but I'm talking to those guys if I'm you, and they start complaining about, I don't know, the steak wasn't medium rare or something.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? You're like, listen, let me tell you about my experience, right?
Yeah, I remember with food, we didn't have like a cafeteria like that, so you had to figure it out on your own. I remember before track practice, I garfed down Burger King A1 steak burger just because I'm like, I need fuel. I haven't eaten all day. It wasn't, and I threw up at practice, by the way. I think we had ladders that day in practice. But it's not cush at all. It's extremely hard. You have to have a legit reason, and you have to know what your purpose and your goals are. And they're not the same. Your purpose and your goals, like, people confuse them, like, oh yeah, my purpose is to take care of my family. No, that's a goal. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah, what is your why?
Yeah,
right?
what is your why? Why were you created?
That's right.
And it's a hard question. I ask recruits this all the time. Like, if you don't know your purpose now, it's all good. But you got to start having those conversations of what is your purpose for being on this planet.
That's right.
Because if you don't have a purpose, then you're going to just do anything. You're going to fly by night. You're going to just, hey, you know what? I'm going to get up and I'm going to do this today. And then tomorrow you're going to figure out what you're going to do today. So my purpose is to educate, impact, and empower the next generation of men. So for me, everything that I do has to align with that. This conversation has to align with that.
Right.
How I move outside of work, how I move in work, it all has to align with the ability to, educate, impact, and empower young men. So I didn't know that purpose until later. But if I can have that conversation with a kid who's about to be a senior right now, and he start provoking thought, maybe he might figure out his purpose at 21. That's still 10 years faster than I figured out my purpose.
Sure. Yeah, and right, absolutely. Like you hit the nail on the head where you just have to start having those conversations with yourself. Right?
Yes.
You don't have to have it figured out.
Exactly.
But if you don't, we used to start meetings with our team and put down, what is your why? right? Because everybody has one, right? You just got to figure out what it is, and it's gonna look a little different for everybody. But when things go hard, it get tough, and everyone, as we all know, is gonna face adversity. Especially, you play in Division I football. You need to ask somebody, what is your why? Because that's what you need to fall back on, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's good. So you went from JUCO to Illinois State.
JUCO to Illinois State. Let's be clear, I wasn't very good at football, to be honest. I was fast, but that was it. So
I doubt that.
It wasn't that I was nice as a cornerback. I was extremely average, but on the track I was pretty fast. National champ, All-American for junior college. Now, okay, we're not talking.
Oh, that's still impressive.
We're not talking Big 12 track, which is king.
Right.
But after that, so went to Illinois State, and by that time, I messed my hamstrings up because I was doing spring ball and I was doing my normal track season at the same time. So, and I wasn't cutting corners on workouts or anything like that. And so by the time I got to Illinois State, it was already like a done deal, really, for me athletically. And so I had the opportunity to connect with Lamar Connard. He's the running back coach right now at Miami, Ohio, and he told me, he was like, yo, well, if you want to coach, well, let's start coaching. And so put, football as an athlete aside and picked it up, Plexico Burst, you remember him?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, of course.
He was a dog.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then he was making money, and then he went to the club, one day, and, that incident happened.
Sure.
The gun incident.
Right.
And so in my head, I'm thinking, like, I gotta find out a way to help young black men progress and not do stupid shit.
Yep.
Like when you get the money.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, so how can I help mentor? And that's really how my journey in coaching started. It started with that one simple incident with him, changed my life. Because before that, I was thinking about going back to the Navy as an officer. I was thinking about being, a state trooper or something along those lines. But it was really that moment that kind of like, hey, we got to help these young people make great decisions and be more than just a football coach. X's and O's, in my opinion, means very little to me. Like, people don't want to know how much you know. They want to know how much you care.
Right.
So that was the beginning of me formulating my style, my philosophy was with that. So that's how Illinois State and coaching started. And then
so you went to a GA. For those who don't know, a graduate assistant. You go to graduate school. At the time, you really don't make any money. They give you some housing. I'll tell you one day I'll tell you my graduate assistant experience. So I lived. Actually, I'll tell you right now. So
yeah,
I lived I did. It was amazing. So I lived in a janitor's closet for 2 years. I was fired up. I remember the first time I'm in the elevator, right, going to this humble abode, and the guy calls me coach, and I'm like, oh, I looked around because I'm like, well, he's talking to me, right? I was so fired up. I was like, oh yeah, he's talking to me. I had my chest out, and I walked right in my janitor's closet. It had a slop sink. It had a hot and cold faucet. I remember like splashing them together, trying to get like warm water, right? In the morning, I would. It had pipes on the ceiling, no windows, no TV, no internet. Lord. Just a bed. I read a lot of books.
Sound like he was incarcerated.
I know, right? That's it. It kind of felt that way. And then the hours that you put it in, right? So I just come home, put my head in the bed, get up and do it all over again. But coach, it was an amazing experience, And so I went from there. I'd walk across the practice field every day. This is the Northeast, so winters and everything. I'd shower in the coach's office every day because I obviously didn't have that. And then that 2 years go by, and that summer I'm trying to make some money, right? They say, okay, you should probably make some money. I'm thinking, it's not a bad idea. But I was like, I really want to network. So I worked camps from, at the time, northern Vermont and southern Florida, everywhere in between. And I actually, at the time, like Craigslist was big with like ride share. So I drove an elderly woman's dog from New York City to D.C. Her sister paid me. Then I went to the next camp. I'd pull in 2, 3 in the morning, sleep in the parking lot, stay at that camp 3-4 days. I drove a grad student to Chapel Hill. But I mean, these are the type of things that that isn't that uncommon in this profession, right?
No.
People are
Dave, you a hustler though.
Well, yeah, you got to figure it out, right? You got to figure it out. I mean, you just got to figure out a way to get it done. But I don't think people. I know people see these big contracts for these coaches and all that stuff, but when you really dive in it, for most of them, when you start going, hey, what was your journey? I mean, there's some incredible stories out there, to get there, and yours is certainly one of them, And So you go for your GA at Kent State?
Right. So, but it happened a little bit different. So, from Illinois State, I made $500 in 2 years.
Okay.
And only made that $500 because Nick Watson, who's the equipment manager there, he gave me a job washing players' clothes after hours. So
yep.
I come back.
So you hustling too,
right?
Yeah.
So hustling too. So,
yep.
And then I graduated from there. I got 2 internship opportunities. One was at Notre Dame to be a Olympic sports strength conditioning intern. And that was the first internship that I got, and I was like so happy about it. And then my professor at the time, Betty Henson, she told me, she said, "No, you got to do another interview. You're required to do 3." I said, "I got my dream job already." You know what I mean? Like, why I got to do another one?
Sure.
And so she said, "No, you have to do 3." She said, "But since you got your dream job, I'll just cut it down to 1. So you just got to do 1 more interview."
Okay.
And so the second interview I did at Ohio State with Coach Glass, who's the Olympic sports strength conditioning coach.
Right.
And so when I was over there, I was like, "Hey, I'm gonna stop by football," and so introduce myself, whatever. So I stopped by football, and I talked to Rick Court about strength conditioning and all that good stuff. And he was like, "Hey, we're full right now, but really appreciate if anything comes up, we'll let you know." So then I go to Notre Dame, and I do my internship with Coach Elise Angeles, Caitlin Sweeney, Tony Rolinski, one of my favorite people in the world. And I'm just out there grinding every day. Skylar Diggins, senior year, K-Mac.
Right. In the strength conditioning world, we're talking about some major names.
Yeah, we're talking about major names.
Right,
so,
right.
And I'm like, dang, I'm around like these like heavy hitters, you know what I mean? And I'm like, shoot, this is awesome. So I do the internship and I kill it. And I end up getting a job at Valparaiso as the outside linebackers coach. So my first job was at a FCS school.
Okay.
And so I'm like, oh, yeah, life is good. Like, I didn't even have the GA to get this.
Right,
like, I'm coming up hard. And so
you didn't have to drive some strange dog in your car.
No. And so like I'm
you're a
geeked.
lucky one. Right.
Yeah, so I'm geeked. I'm like, yes. And I get a phone call from Tony Rolinski, and Tony says, "Man, why are you doing that? Like that's absolutely crazy. Like you're trying to be an intern your whole life. You're trying to, And I'm like, Coach, like I got to make money. It's $10,000, but it's still something.
Right.
And so he was like, all right, cool. He hangs up. And then all of a sudden I get a call like a day later from Rick Court from Ohio State. And so I'm like, "Hey, Coach Court, how you doing?" And he's saying, "Hey, you know what? Got an opportunity here. Talked to Coach Rolinski at Notre Dame, said that you're a hell of a dude, that you're a grinder, hard worker. Like, we want to bring you on." I said, "Well, I got a job now, so I'm making money." He's like, No. Just think about it. It'll be after the season." So I'm like, all right, cool. Everything Gucci. I'm like, all right, bet. I'm still thinking about it, though. I'm like, Right. And so this is the year that my mom passed away. So she passed away in November. We're going throughout the season, and it's crazy how God works in mysterious ways. Because if I was at Ohio State or if I was somewhere else, like I wouldn't have the access to drive home. So I drove home probably every Thursday after practice, And I remember this one time, and by this time, me and my mom, we became real close. From 18 to she died when I was 28, like we became, very close. So had the opportunity the week before she died. It was during the season. I'm hanging out. I'm laying in her bed, and I fall asleep. I put my father on the couch, basically. And normally she'd be very, like, picky. And she'd be like, "Hey, get out of my bed," or whatever. So that whole entire night, she was waking me up, like, checking on me. "Hey, are you okay? Are you good?" Because, like, for a while after I got out the Navy, my mom was still, like, sliding money into my bank account so I could chase my dreams.
Right.
So she was always the one who was, like, taking care of things that need to be taken care of. And so I was like, "Yeah, Mom, I'm good. And then she hit me up, I want to say a day or so after, and she said, "Hey, do you still have that PNC account?" And I still have the screenshot saved on my phone. And so I said, "Yeah, I still got them." She said, "Okay, well, I'm going to put some money in." I told her, I said, "No, I don't want you to do that." And then she said, "Why?" And I said, "It's time for me to chase my dreams on my own."
Wow.
And then
what a pivotal moment.
Yeah,
right?
and then that to me it was like a moment where, you know what, I get that I have a daughter, I get that I'm trying to live my dreams, I get all this, but like at some point a man has to be a man, and he has to do it on his own. And so I took that opportunity to tell her, you know, that I was good. And then she laughed and she was like, "Oh, who taught you that?" And I said, "Just, you know, how I've been feeling, right, Mama." And shortly after that, she passed away. Wow. And I think that night and then that text conversation, it was a way where she can have peace, you know, as she transitioned, to you know, say, hey, you know, he's in good hands.
Sure. So. Yeah. No, I mean, from everything I know about you, Coach, I have no doubt she's looking down, super proud. I mean, and that's another moment, right? We talk about all these things that impacted you and were formative in your life that you can then take and impact young men, and that's really what this profession is all about, mm-hmm, right? So that's an amazing story, and certainly didn't happen by accident, right?
No,
in my opinion. So,
no.
So you go to Ohio State now.
So after Valpo job, it was right after, like I said, my mom passed in November. Valpo season is over in like 2 weeks or so after my mom passed away. And funny story, the only game that we won that year was the game that was on the same day as my mom's funeral.
Wow, amazing.
So it was like all kind of like cool stuff that's
Absolutely.
going on.
Yeah.
I remember the players were texting me, "This one's for your mom, Coach." And to me, that's the kind of impact you want to have, you know, with kids, where they love you and they're invested in your life as you are invested in theirs.
No question. And that's what this game can do, that, you know, when you're sitting down on the couch, and it's entertainment, and I get all that, but that's the stuff there that this thing is all about. And if you're in it for the right reasons, which a guy like yourself is, then you realize that, you know, and that's amazing. So this is so you've packed a lot in a short amount of time in terms of a career. I mean, people work, you know, to go walk into Ohio State, you know, at that time with that little experience, frankly, right? Doesn't happen every day. And it also goes to show another lesson you can teach those guys is that, hey, look, I went in and this opportunity didn't work out, but I made a good impression. I didn't burn a bridge. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, fast forward, you know, short time later, and I'm getting a call from Ohio State, the same place. You know, you could easily just walked out and be like, the heck with these guys. They don't want it. You know, but you didn't, right? You kept your head held high. You worked hard. And it paid off, and that's another just valuable lesson that you can, you know, transfer to players.
Yeah, sometimes people live in the now, especially kids nowadays. Right. Everybody lives in the now, and what can I get right now? And that's NIL, and that's a whole different topic, right? Sure. But you have to be able to live in the future. You know, I never really sat back and lived in the here and the now. I've always like lived in the future. Whether it's what I want to be in 10 years, I'm always thinking about that person. Whether it's a promise that I make to, you know, Navy buddies, like when I'm still in Navy. Yeah, when I play LSU, I'm giving you tickets, you know, to the game. Right. And like I'm just talking low key out my ass a little bit when it was going through, but when it happened, when I was a GA at Kent State, so I did the internship at Ohio State, and then that opened up the opportunity to GA at Kent State. It was the first season we played LSU, and I was able to keep that promise. It took 9 years, but I was able to keep that promise that I made to Ball and all those guys in the boot, and I was like, hey, here, come to the game. So I've always lived in the future, whether it's goals that I set or things that I say that come out of my mouth or whatever case. But like, you have to live in the future. You have to invest in that future. If you are about what you can get right now, then life will not turn out the way that you want. You always have to reach for the future.
Absolutely. Well, I can see why you've rose so fast in your career and the impact you're having on these young men here currently at TCU. Coach, they're telling me to wrap up here now. I could go on all day. If it's okay with you, I'd love to have you back another time to get into sort of your recruiting philosophy. I have so many things I want to talk to you about. You're such an interesting guy who's been extremely successful, have built numerous top recruiting classes, and then just arrived. We're lucky to have you here at TCU, and you've come in guns blazing, because that recruiting class is flying around. I'm telling you, it's impressive to open up Twitter and see all these 23 guys already.
Thanks for having me. I would I wouldn't say that it's me, you know, guns are blazing. I'd say that we have an unbelievable unit of people, and I mentioned them early. Like Brian, if it wasn't for Brian, I wouldn't have even thought about coming to TCU. Allie and Callie are awesome. Anthony, Coach Dykes, unbelievable. Coach Buck, who I'm working with, like unbelievable. I just think that we have a goal and a vision of what this place could be, what it once was, and what it can be again. You know, and my goal is to really just be 10 toes down, enjoy the ride, and really try to help bring something special to the DFW.
Awesome. Well, then, so you're guaranteeing me I'll get a part 2 of this then?
Yes.
Okay, good. Well, look, I'm going to hold you to it. I really am. I appreciate your time, especially on a rare vacation. Thank you for coming in, and let's do this again soon so we can talk about the current recruiting philosophy and those things. So for Eron Hodges, I'm Coach David Beaudin with Dissecting the Frogs. Check us out. July 14th will be at Big 12 Media Day at AT&T Stadium. Excited to meet with all the guys at Big 12 and Coach Dykes' sort of coming out party here as a head coach for TCU. Again, Eron Hodges, thank you very much. Appreciate your time. See you next time.